growing up in Baltimore and just talking to people that have businesses, or just got money in Baltimore. A lot of the thing is the hustle. Like, how are you getting your money? How are you continuing to bring things in? How are you feeding the market that you're currently in?
Yeah,
and I think something that I've contemplated with my brand, and it seems like you've done as well, is like I want my brand to be outside of Baltimore. So like when I started my brand, I was like, all right, cool. Now I'm getting sales overseas. I'm getting, sales in California and Arizona and different places that I haven't even been to yet. But, something that I'm doing is connecting with other people. And I think that's something important when you have like a bigger vision as far as what you want to do. Like you said, going Ball Harbor and, speaking to those people and not just speaking to where you're from. Because there's a lot of local brands that got stuck here. Not in a bad way, but Motions and Shooters and all those brands, they felt like Baltimore brands, and people from Baltimore wore those brands. But if you talk to somebody outside of Baltimore, they have no idea what you're talking about.
No.
But we all know what the Hundreds is. We all know, Diamond Supply Co. and all those things, and they're nowhere near close to us. And those cultures are completely different, but we know what they are. We understand what they are. So I think that's something that you really want to try and create with your brand if you want to, make it outside of a certain market. And I think that's what's important.
You got to know, timing is, you got to know what you want takes longer.
Yeah.
I think in my mind, it's like, I know what I want takes a long time.
Yeah.
I know what I want. I might not even live to see.
Mm.
And that's something like I'm comfortable with now. Like, cause I know that like everything that I see, it took almost 300 years to be where it is today.
Yeah.
Like, my inspiration comes from brands that were started in 1853.
Yeah.
Word.
Yep. So there's something I wanted to point out about your approach now that's kind of similar to, kind of don't know until you go to a place like Harrods or Selfridges. You have a department store. Man, all right, so for the listeners, Selfridges, Harrods are department stores in Europe that mirrored American culture from the 40s, 50s. That are incredible experiences, right?
Yeah.
And all it did was replicate the American experience, right? But it's disappeared in America. And it's still very strong in London. You can go and it's like a off-white installation that's very personal.
Yeah.
Intricate, personal, that's just for that brand. It's like, it might be 20 feet devoted to just that brand. You have people that are specifically informed about that brand in that space. And you've created something that's kind of similar. You have an art space, a creation space, a studio that kind of replicates the department store mentality, which is just customer service first, product, and information about the product. And I hope that I appreciate it, and I think that other people do appreciate it, but it's jarring at first, because at first you're like, I think you gotta make an appointment to see him. What this man is?
Who the fuck does he?
But if you've ever, I'm telling you, man, do yourself a favor. If y'all ever go overseas, go to Harrods, go to Selfridges, experience the department store experience that used to exist in America, and it feels unreal to go into space and be taken care of.
Yeah.
From the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
Being taken care of. And what made you go back to that? What made you go back to the culture that is very American?
That's what makes me feel good.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna try to give you an experience that I wouldn't be comfortable with. You know, like my thing is like really changing people's mentality of like, it's personal for me.
Yeah.
Cause like I want to feel stimulated.
Yeah.
In a sense, and like I love how it feels to walk in somewhere and somebody's like, "Hey, would you like sparkling or whatever?"
Yeah, right.
So
This is
like,
different.
I want to provide that same experience, and here in Baltimore, I have to provide that experience because my price points are not your average price point that people used to.
Yeah.
So I have to provide that experience, but at the end of the day, like I don't do it because I feel like I have to. I do it because I want to.
Word.
Like, I really want. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Because I know people don't experience that all the time.
It's different,
because
man.
people are going to these other countries that you're talking about, and they go into the same store they can go to in Towson because they can't think outside of. It's like the person who goes to Times Square and go to Fridays.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, it's
Wow.
like, what are you doing?
Go.
You go to Dubai and go to Fridays.
Yeah.
Like, but there are people who you gotta like pull out. You gotta like show them something for them to start to think a little bit different.
Oh yeah. Let me give you a weird story about experience like that. So I have a friend that lives in London. I go pretty often, and went to Harrods. My mom hit me up and was like, "Give me a British tea set. Like I've never had one. Give me one." So I'm there, and the price point is the price point, right? But they treated me so well. I was like, "Wrap it up, send it to America." Like you shouldn't think twice about it. That's what a good experience will do for you. You see the price point, you touch it, you feel it. Like she got an elephant milk dispenser and all this cool stuff with these patterns on it. It's the feel of the glass.
Yeah.
You know, you have these experiences that make you do things like that. You're like, shit, I'm not gonna spend a couple $100 every day.
No.
But if I'm gonna do it,
this is gonna be it.
It's gonna be how I'm gonna do it.
This is what I'm gonna spend it on.
So yeah, man, like I get it, and I'm open to the experience. And I think that people should be open, especially a black man trying to do it.
Yeah. Doing it.
Doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I ain't
doing
trying
it.
no more.
Yeah, doing it.
Like
Doing
it's there.
it. Yeah.
Like,
A tangible
you
thing.
know what I mean? Like
Appointments.
Yeah. It's there.
Yo, something really dope about
Yeah.
that. So like it took me a while to get it, but you know, it's sinking in. You know, you have these experiences and you realize what it is.
So what was your either first design or first collection that you put together?
So my first official design was the T-shirt that says "Respect Your Wealth."
Okay.
That was like my first official. Like I'm happy with this. Like I'm selling these. It was the "Respect Your Wealth" tee, and that was like I want to say between 2007 and 2010, I probably sold over like 5,000 of those shirts.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And the brand name, where did that come from?
So Billions of Currency came from, man, that's a long story. But long story short, my mother worked at a bank. So I used to like sleep in the bank because she didn't want to pay for daycare, I guess. You know, I used to sleep in the break room.
Word.
And one day this lady said to me, well, I looked at her and she was like putting money in a safe or something. And I was like, oh, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And she's like, honey, this isn't money. This is currency. You know, this isn't considered money until it goes into circulation.
Ooh.
And I was always interested with that word currency and like going into circulation and like, what does that mean? So I started doing research on that word and started coming up with a lot of other acronyms and other synonyms of like what money is in other ways and in history, and how like money has such an interesting timeline, and it's also like designed so well.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's so interesting. Like I feel like money is just like us, right? It's like we're this person that's like made up of all these bones and vessels and shit, but like we're just treated like shit.
Yeah.
Like we're not that valued to one another. And take $1 out of your pocket. It's only worth $1. What can you buy with that?
Peanut juice.
And what is that? That's nothing, right?
Yeah.
But if you look at how intricate that piece of paper is, the design, the detail, the calligraphy, like everything in that it's just beautiful, you know. And for something to be that beautiful and still can be worth nothing, it's interesting. So I always like play with that in my mind. Like it's crazy how something can like have so much detail, but people still don't even see it. Like there's people who have money in their pocket, but they don't ever look at it and like be inspired by that, or think of where all that comes from. Or money can remind you sometimes of how like much more ahead Black people were in that time. Just like buildings. Just like when you walk around Mount Vernon and look at these buildings versus modern buildings now, like it'll show you like, whoa, people were taking a little bit more time. Like that's life's work.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, like
That's interesting.
it's a difference between like the dollar and Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin is like now money.
Yeah.
Paper money that was life's work.
Yeah. A painting.
You bingo. You
it's
get
like
what I'm
a
saying?
art piece that you're handing around.
Exactly. Literally.
Yeah.
It is art.
Yeah. It is. And it's also time. I mean, like, so that's the weird part about money. Like, you can have a ton of it and not use it efficiently. Like, you could use it to get more of it.
Respect your wealth.
Yes. And you could, like, somebody could spend $10,000 on a resource and not get anything out of it.
Yeah.
I can go on a website with an indie kid that does like art, pay that kid $1,000 to do what somebody could do for 10, make $1 million from that one thing that kid did. And then you got to figure out how money can work for you in terms of time and using it efficiently.
Yeah.
It's okay to blow it too.
Every now and then.
To be
It
totally
happens.
honest with you, like that's one thing I haven't figured out yet.
What have you figured out?
Like money, I don't get it.
I don't, because it's, so what's so weird about it is like, it has a dark past because we were used to create wealth, right? And then all these decades later, in a space where you could create, and if your grandfather, great-great-grandfather saw what you did now, he would faint. If he saw where you lived, how you lived, and people take that for granted every day.
Yeah.
I don't. I have an acute understanding of that. And some of it comes from like experiences growing up in travel, and what we have is a natural resource. You can create culture on a pretty unimaginable level. All the people in here can create culture, which is tangible and can create currency for you. But people don't know that. It's like so you'll go on Instagram and somebody will put 20 jokes out that have 10,000 views that you could have turned into a show and sold to people for 30 a pop and made.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, we give culture away at a pretty alarming rate. It's because we were told that our shit didn't have value for so long.
Bingo.
And you're trying to bring that back. You're trying to show people that there's value in your creation and your.
Yes.
Yeah, something to that, man.
It's literally like, and it's not even like something I mentally play with. It's something that I'm learning myself.
Word.
You know, like I be questioning myself all the time. Like, why do I do this? You know, why do I price this for this, or why do I want to make this, or like, it all comes from a place, but it's never like, I'm not at that point where I'm like masterminding shit. Yeah, this more so like, oh, this is who you are, and like I'm trying to get comfortable with who I am, and really like, okay, this is how we doing it.
Yeah,
you know, like.
Do you believe in the idea that? So you ever hear the idea that trauma can transfer through genetics, like your family's pain and can transfer through genetics?
100%.
Right. So like, so with that concept, also drive, creativity.
Yeah.
That stuff can transfer. It's like bone. It's to the bone. Like I will wager to bet that a couple generations ago, there was someone in your family who did a thing of great importance, something we did, something your great-great-great-granddad did, something your great-great-grand, something your great-great-grand. You know what I mean? You go back enough, there's this creative energy that exists that we weren't allowed to express.
Nope.
You have all the freedom in the world to express now, but they'd have you believe that you can't. So, I don't know, man. I think what you're doing is cool.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's dope.
Oh, thank you.
It's good to talk about it.
So it's, being in, I guess, PedX for that amount of time, like, how did your brand start shaping, being in that space, and like, where did it go while you were there?
Being in PedX, just gave me like, it gave me eyes to like the local community.
Yeah.
It helped me create a community for, you know, the creative class, you know, within our urban community. And for the brand, it just helped it look more important than what it was, or bigger than what it was, because I was able to put it next to these these brands that people looked at as bigger because they were watching them in other areas.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, and you know that whole local thing where it's like the person next to you can never be bigger than the person you're watching.
Yeah.
Even if they are. You just know it's just like that's a pride, that's an ego thing, especially in our community.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can't really inspire the same way because it's too tangible.
Yeah.
But PedX definitely helped a lot. And we were in PedX I was with PedX from, I want to say 2009 to. That's interesting. Because we had our flagship.
I was gonna say you guys had a space next to it, right?
Yeah, we had a space next to it. That's an interesting story too. I'll tell you that story. So, all the brands that I picked. Well, I don't know if you know, but we had the small store, and then we opened the big store. I was the buyer at the small store. I was also the buyer at the bigger store for a couple of years. But I wasn't supposed to get the small store.
Oh.
I was supposed to go over to the big store and just continue to be a manager. But I saw Currency growing, and I felt like Currency could live without being with those brands. So I had to basically blackmail Gar. Because I picked up all the brands that were making the money.
Oh, okay.
And so it was like, okay, if I don't get this small store, then I won't give you all the brands that I picked up. I could cancel these relationships.
Yeah.
Now, you know, so that's how I ended up with that small store as a Currency flagship.
Got you.
And it was a hand that I had to play based off of like me and Garth's relationship, because it was a competition thing at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So and I know I had to play that card because I would have been in a fucked up situation if I didn't.
Word.
But it sucks though, because I started to like think about that. Like I was like, damn, I should have kept all those brands. Yeah. You know, like but I knew what I wanted. You know, I knew I wanted to continue to build Currency.
Yeah.
So, but then we got over that, and I started to help him pick up more brands at PedX and things of that nature. Yeah.
Did you?
No, I was just gonna say it's always difficult dealing with a person that has like a certain amount of arrogance with them. Because even like when I started my brand, you know, I'd walk into the space and, you know, talk to everybody in the shop, and they like, oh man, I love what you're doing. I love what your brand stands for. Gave them like stickers. They'd like put the stickers like around the store and stuff like that. And then he was like, yeah, you know, come back, talk to Garth. I go in there and talk to him. He's like, yeah, man, I don't really fuck with this shit. You should talk to, you know, somebody over here and, you know, have them work on your designs, and then, you know, come back after you get that done, and then, you know, maybe we can do something. So it was just those type of conversations. And then, you know, I, you know, still go back and still talk with them and, you know, try and build that relationship. But it still felt like, you know, yeah, I got this space. Like I'm a gatekeeper at this point.
Because he was.
Which is true, yes.
And also, he ain't mean no harm. And that's one thing I will say about him. Like, one, he did have a history in like design and stuff. He's a graph artist, so we know the streets. He was dope. But as far as like clothing, he wasn't a good picker.
Yeah.
But in that instance, it's like you gotta think about it. There were people trying to pitch him brands every second.
Yeah.
Like we're in Baltimore. There's no boutiques
at all.
Like you're not getting in Gentai.
Word.
Impossible.
You get what I'm saying? Like
impossible.
You're
bro.
not.
So what was that experience like?
Jesus Christ.
You're not getting in Gentai. So you got to think about people were coming at PedX neck. Like I'm talking 30 emails a day. Like I didn't even know I don't know there's this many hat people. I don't know there's this many clothing lines. Like every day I'm talking people coming in with donuts, you know.
I had to travel.
Champagne. Like,
I wish you would have put your stuff in social studies sneakers in Frederick.
Man.
You would have done so well. Cause we had to travel to get in the space. Huh?
I said we have not talked about that space on this podcast yet.
Yo, PedX and social studies sneakers. Forever indebted.
Bruh.
They were two shops that just weren't. Gentai was like it was hard, man. It was an experience to go in there. You know, I'm pretty close to Dan. Dan and I talk damn near every day. But it was way ahead of its time. It was way ahead of its time.
Gentai was a shit.
It was.
Like I would have slept there.
Japanese Stussy?
It's crazy. Oliver treated me like shit, but I still went there and spent my money.
Most people like shit.
I was great.
You know what I mean? Like treated me like shit. Word. And I'm like young currency. Like I feel like I'm doing something. Like you should be shaking my hand. You know?
Yeah.
Like, but nah, he didn't care. But I still went there and I spent my money not because of him, but I'm spending my money because of the experience you providing, and that's my thing.
Yeah.
If you sorry, but if you can stimulate me mentally with an experience, you can be as much as an asshole you want to me. Because I'm not here for you anyway.
Word.
Yeah.
I'm here for the experience.
Yeah.
You did your job. Yeah. Like you did your job. So to me, you can be an asshole.
Yeah.
I don't need your brand to be great, your store to be great, and for you to be the nicest person in the world.
Yeah. I kind of felt similar.
I know that's not how shit works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, and he was nice enough. You know what I mean? Like it's in terms of just if you wanted a buddy, he just wasn't gonna be your buddy.
But I feel like that also comes from, I'm starting to learn this now, but it also comes from like being at a certain status.
Right.
Because people put you on this pedestal, right? Because you're doing something you want to do.
Yeah.
So shit get weird.
Yeah.
Niggas get weird. Friends get weird.
Yeah.
Everything gets weird. So it's like you get to that point where you like, I can't be everybody's friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
You don't know the motives.
You don't know the motives.
Yeah.
It's like
that's rough.
It's like everything gets weird, bro. So like, you start acting funny and you questioning yourself why you acting funny, but you acting funny because you feel like you gotta walk on eggshells. You feel like you don't know what to say to people based on their feelings. So like, I understand where Oliver was. I understand why he had to put that kind of guard up because his people was probably just coming at him all the time. And at the same time, there's a lot of shit you don't want to take home. You still got to be a salesperson. Yeah. And then a lot of us were going in and we probably weren't even spending money like his clientele was. So his friends is who was keeping the lights on in that store.
For sure.
For us to continue to be inspired.
Yeah.
At least we could go in.
Yeah. And I think the other point for that is being able to filter through all that stuff that you see. Like you said, you get 30 emails a day. That's a lot of content to go through every single day and look at what people are sending you and, you know, trying to figure out what's dope and what's not. And sometimes you are going to miss stuff that's in there.
Yeah.
It just happens because it's so large of a volume of things that are coming in that you have to look at. And, you know, you got to consider those things too.
You also got to consider like when you get to a level when you working with, and this is unfortunate, but when you're working with the hundreds, right?
Okay.
You're dealing with a certain level of professionalism.
Right.
So when local people are reaching out to you, they're not coming at you with that level of professionalism.
Right.
So you get used to working with a certain level, and it's not, no, I don't want to work with you. It's more so like, I need you to figure out how to put your stuff in context what I'm used to working with now.
Exactly.
But I can't tell you that because if I tell you that, I'm doing the work for you.
Right.
And there's work you got to do because there's something that you're not seeing because you're so focused on selling me a t-shirt with a graphic on it. Yeah. But me saying no to you, you start thinking about, okay, what's missing?
Right.
It's the deck. It's the, maybe you as an owner shouldn't be reaching out to me. Maybe you should tell one of your friends to fake like your assistant and reach out to me. Maybe you should have a couple people call the store and figure out if we carry your brand. It's all those tactics that we hear about in these.
Like that's what the Hundreds did. Like they went and talked to somebody who was like, hey, if you can carry our brand in here, we'll give you X amount of shirts. And they told all their friends to go in there to go buy the shirts. But what they did was they paid their friends to go in there and buy the shirts. And then at that point, they were like, all right, man, what else you got for us? Can you bring something else in? So it's all depending on, you know, your tactics on how you want to push your brand to that level.
That's super smart. And especially at that time, like, you know, when it's only a couple boutiques.
Yeah.
You are the boutique.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
You have to, the only thing you have to answer to is the bottom line in that store. That's it.
Exactly.
You can make the rules. So that's well, you know, we talking about all of the positive things. When did you have doubts about creation, and, you know, did you ever have any creator's block or anything like that? Did you have any dark spots where you were, you know, kind of doubted yourself?
I've never doubted myself.
Ever?
No.
That's incredible.
I got too much support.
Yeah.
I got too much support like that. Like there's always a person I live through people in a sense. Like Zamar could tell you, like I've worked with him. You know, like I've worked with him. So it's like if I'm working with somebody like him, I'm always like on a leap of faith. Like if I could work with somebody and continue to grow, like if you notice, I'm always working with someone, whether it's a photographer or filmographer or a builder or a partner. Like I'm always working with another creative, so like I can't doubt myself because my goal is to build a platform that other people can show their work on. Like that, at the end of the day, that's the biggest thing for me. Like I have came to the point where it's like, yo, I know people follow people, and I know people find out about other people through somebody that they aspire to be. So I'm at the point where it's though, like, I don't care what I got to do to get on a certain personal level with people, because if I can become like, quote unquote, very successful to the point where as though if Zamark wants to do a 5-minute video for me and 1 million people are going to see that, and 100 of those people are going to reach out to him for video work, that's where I'm trying to be.
For sure.
Yeah,
got you.
You know, like if I gotta be this crazy creative director named Currency Michaels, so she can make a bench, and just because I sit on it, somebody in LA is like, yo, what's that bench Currency Michaels is sitting on? I want that for my home in fucking St. Bart's. Like, whatever. It's like, that's where I am now. Just like really trying to become who I should be to help others grow. Because everybody can't be like in that light, because they're creating. So like I'm trying to get to that point where as though I could be where I need to be, so that people creating, like, their shit could actually get out.
So has that been a process for you, I guess, finding people to work with creatively and kind of find a way to incorporate it with like your brand, and, you know, having a team around you as far as, you know, having different spaces that you work out of, or, you know, sell your product out of?
But that's what we're working on now.
Okay.
So my thing is the studio, Currency Studio. So like building that as a platform that you understand, or like you get attracted to everything that's going on under that house.
So what's how did you come up with the concept of the studio? Because you said you had your flagship space and then you transitioned into the studio. So how did that whole process work?
So I was doing too much. So Currency Campaign, Currency Michaels, Currency Crest. I'm doing stuff where I'm throwing paint all over it. She's making furniture and art and doing whatever she wants to do. And we just like, we're always trying to differentiate everything. So I was like, okay, I don't necessarily want to differentiate all this stuff. So Currency Studio is like that house. So if people get familiar with Currency Studio, it's like, okay, what lives in Currency Studio? It's like, okay, you might know Barney's, but when you walk in Barney's, you find out about Vince, Fear God, vintage Rolexes downstairs, Goyard in the corner, you know. So, but it leads to all of those.